Welcome back. We are learning the magical things that you can do with the Pixlr app. Right now, we are using the effects and overlay tools, which are located at the bottom. It's the blue and the white diamond here. So in a previous video, we had looked at different effects where you can change the colors of any photo to suit your own palette. And now we're going to be going into the bottom. So it says overlay. Previously we did effect, and now towards the bottom in the middle it says overlay. And we are going to be using, playing around with different overlays. Here there are like hundreds of different things that you can use as an overlay. So basically an overlay is going to change the background or change the texture of any photograph that you use. So again, you'll see here, this is the default overlays, and there's a bunch of squares. They say beep, Bosia, Bubble, Burn, Cyborg, Divine, Floyd, Focal. There's all of these squares, but then beneath the squares, you'll see this whole row of circles. And if you scroll through the circles, each one will bring up a whole bunch of squares that you can practice using. So these are default overlays. Pushing on the circles, this brings up a quest ones, which have a really galactic feeling to them. There's art modern overlays. There's candy minimal. I'll just read them all here so that you can see. Color, echo, frostalicious, Gibson, Impala, light, mermaid, skyfell, Solaris, wavelengths, bokeh, canvas, there's still more, chemburn, color correction, color lovers, fireworks, flags, flames, grunge, leaking HD, leaks, light paint, neon, Olga, paper, patterns, retro poster, smoke, space, tie-dye, and vignettes. Holy Moses, right? There's like so much that you can choose from. So rather than getting overwhelmed with it, because that could be easy to do, you can just see what, choose one thing. So let's go back into default, which I've done, which is the first circle with all these different squares, and just to get an idea of how each of these overlays can change your photo. So I'm going to try bubble first of all, which is on the top row. And you can see it adds bubbles to your photograph. And you can, with all of these overlays, so you'll see the squares at the bottom. Above those squares, you'll see that you have the option to flip that pattern horizontally, so bringing it to the other side of the photograph. You can also flip it vertically, so you can bring it to the top or the bottom. And then you can also rotate the degrees of it. So you can rotate it by 90 degrees and keep bringing it around. And then also there is that slider at the bottom where you can lessen the intensity or like make it to the full effect. So that's bubble without even having to go back. I could just cycle through the squares. This is what burn looks like for that. It gives it almost like this tie-dye kind of rainbow effect, which is kind of cool. And again, you can just use the slider at the bottom to change the intensity of it. With all of these overlays, you have the option to rotate it horizontally, vertically, or at 90 degrees. This is the cyborg filter. This is divine, which gives it that that glow. This is Floyd, which puts these kind of psychedelic triangles behind it. foggy, gaze. This is glitter, kryptonite, Lauren, leak. So you'll get an idea. First of all, you'll get your own intuitive hit of like, if I have a photo of a flower, which I do, I probably don't need a red rum filter on it, which is this. Like, that doesn't really go together. Maybe the rainbow would, but it doesn't really look like it there. This is scratches. You know, stripe doesn't really make sense for a floral photo. Same with trails, not so much. Worn out. So if you like any of these, you can always push the check mark and then add more overlays as you wish. If you don't like any of these, which for this particular one I don't, I'm going to push X. And then you can just use the circles at the bottom to try different ones. So maybe I'm going to try this purgatory, which makes it like a cosmic flower. You could also use this for if you had a nature scene and you wanted to make the sky this like really cosmic celestial stardust, you can. So here, if I wanted, pretend there was sky at the top. So I was going to rotate that vertically. And also, I should mention, with all of these overlays, you can always use the eraser at the top left hand. Maybe I don't want the effect on the flower at all, so I can just use my finger and wipe out the stars from the flower itself. Maybe I only want that effect to be taking place around the flower and behind the flower. So I can just wipe it off using my finger. So maybe I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. It looks like a cosmic lily pad. So I'm going to push the check mark above the eraser, first of all, to say that I like that effect. And then I'm going to push a check mark that, okay, I'm going to have this purgatory effect, this purgatory overlay behind my flower. I'm going to go back into those diamonds at the bottom, and then in the middle where it says overlay, and you can really just cycle through and see what each of them does. This blush here makes it almost have like a canvas texture. This is pull, again, canvas texture. So you can really make things look pretty psychedelic if you want. This is called watercolor. Gives it like a painting effect. I'm going to X out of those. I want to try going into color. So maybe I want it to have more of this like indigo tone to it. This is the music filter, and I really like the saturation of that. It brings it into more of my particular color palette. So maybe my intention with this photo is to make it this cosmic lotus, and I really want to saturate it like this. So I'll say sure to this music overlay. You can go back into the diamonds, back into overlay, and just see, you're not married to anything that comes up. So if you don't like it, that's fine. If you do like it, that's okay too. And as always, you can push the button at the top right-hand corner to see the difference between your proposed changes and the previous version of your photo. So this one kind of adds a subtle texture to it without being over the top. This is the recoil. I could also see what save looks like, or resurrection, and then adjust the toggle at the bottom as much as I wanted. So I'm going to say yes to a bunch of these just to show you that you can literally layer as many of these or as few of these as you want. You can toggle through these circles. This is wavelengths. So maybe I'm going to push this portal and see what that does. And again, you can make it more subtle by using the toggle at the bottom of the screen. but maybe I want it to be more pronounced, but I want it not to be on the flower itself again. So I can use the eraser and rub my finger along the actual flower to take away any part where this portal touches the flower itself. And I'll also mention here, in case it isn't obvious, normally when I am adjusting my own photographs and using apps in photographs, I use it almost as like a devotional practice, that I am just really tuning in to what it is I want to convey in the photos. And I'm also intentionally saturating my photographs with my energy, that by taking the time and using this as a practice to enhance the photographs, that I'm imagining that my energy and my intentions and my invitations are being embedded into the pixels of this photograph. So, you can, it doesn't mean that I don't have fun. I actually have a lot of fun doing it, but I also like to approach it with this really sacred, devotional awareness. And I'm not just kind of like slapping on filters haphazardly, even though in some of these videos I am, just to make a point. So you can explore this with your own practice too, and you can say, yes, this feels good to me, this looks good to me, this resonates with me, and you can know that however you are creating your photographs, that the people who are drawn to them and the people who resonate with them are the people who need your particular brand or flavor of energy. So this is quite a psychedelic lotus now. I'm not going to go through all of these different overlays. You can see how many there are. This is this retro poster here. Okay, and so that's making this like beam come out from the flowers, which I'll say yes to that too. And at any point, you can always use the undo buttons to go back to different iterations of it, so you can see all of these changes I've made to this poor flower. So this was the original photo, and then I added the starlight to the back. I changed the hue of it with an overlay. Again, I added the portal to the background, and then finally I added this retro poster beam in the end. So this is the cosmic lotus that I had intended to create. So when you're finished with it, as always, you can just hit the done button, and then you can save the image, which will save it to your camera roll. So we have one other thing, I believe, we also have the stylize function in this overlay. So that's what we'll look at in the next video. I will see you there.